Good evening. It is Monday, November 14th. This is the Guilford Board of Education. Welcome to the meeting tonight. I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome tonight. I am going to note that we are missing Dr. Freeman tonight. He did have a family emergency he needed to attend to. So part of his report we're certainly going to put on hold until our next regular meeting in December. But otherwise we are going to proceed. First item in the agenda is to approve the October 11th 2022 regular Board of Ed meetings. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any corrections or comments?
We just had two. On page 1, item number 7, there's a space in the word she. It's a minor one.
Oh, right, okay.
And then on page number 2, Leet Elementary School, the last bullet item, students will participate in a celebration of, I believe that should be Diwali.
Oh, yes, thank you. D-I-W-A-L-I. Thank you. I had a correction on page 3. Under update on assistant superintendent search, the middle paragraph, 5 lines down, the 6 applicants were then narrowed down to 3 who will initially receive a detailed conversation with Dr. Freeman and then go back. I would cross out to the search committee. They go back for final interviews. It was a different committee that did those final interviews. Are there any other corrections to the minutes? All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the minutes as corrected, please say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. Okay, that's 7 in approval. And 7 of us here tonight, so 7 of 7. The October 24th, 2022 workshop meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or corrections to these minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Mr.
not present.
Mr. Delventura abstains. All right. And then lastly, the November 3rd special meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right. I did have one correction. Under number 2, the 3rd paragraph. On the motion made by, that's correct, but the second sentence, the board reconvened at 7:55 p.m., that should be stricken because in fact the next paragraph identifies when we reconvened. Any other comments or corrections? All right. All those in favor of the minutes as they have been amended?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
And Ms. Peck abstains. All right. Are there we're up to number 4, public forum for topics on the board agenda. Are there any topics, any public comments? I'm not seeing any, so we will move on then to review and approval of expenditure for the month of October. Christy Faulkner.
Thank you. So we went over the individual line items on the bills and the warrants earlier in the operations committee. So this is just a high-level overview. The expenditures for the month of October 2022 were $5,239,312.47. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of October were 30.6 of the budget, as compared to 29.2 in 2021. Revenue for the month of October was $15,880, which included a $2,000 stipend for CERC training for 4 pupil service administrators. CERC is the State Education Resource Center of Connecticut, and the other portion was $13,880 for pre-K tuition. The warrants we are submitting are a total of all the payments for the month listed alphabetically, and the total of payments listed on the warrant is $2,597,392.18.
Excellent. As Mrs. Faulkner stated, we did review this in detail in the Operations Committee just prior to this meeting. But I will open the floor for any comments or questions if anybody has them. If not, can I have a motion, please, to approve the expenditures for the month of October 2022?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that is everyone in attendance. Thank you. All right. Number 6 on our agenda is communications. Do any of my colleagues have communications to share at this time that they've received over the last month? All right. Moving along to student representatives. Hi, Ruby. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good.
Good.
I know you are representing all 3 of our student reps tonight.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so right now I'm going to be doing Calvin Leet and Baldwin, which are George's schools. So in Calvin Leet, students have been learning a variety of patriotic songs such as My Country 'Tis of Thee, This Land Is Your Land, and You're a Grand Old Flag. Students are also introduced to singing scat and jazz classics like When the Saints Go Marching In. The patriotic songs are surrounded kind of by Veterans Day, as you will see as a common theme throughout all the schools in the district. In Mrs. Dos Anjos' 4th grade class, students are attempted to launch a pumpkin, a candy pumpkin, as far as possible using a catapult. The 4th graders use their STEM principles to modify and improve upon their initial designs. And Mrs. Donnarummo, she took her kindergarteners to the Calvin Leet Blacktop to draw abstract art, where students use chalk to learn about crucial elements of art, including shape, space, and line. At Baldwin, they had the PTO trunk or treat, where nearly 1,000 people attended. The event was held in the high school parking lot area, and a big thanks to Guilford High School's administration for helping with the organization and logistics. Also thank you for the high school student volunteers who helped out the event. The clubs at Baldwin are underway, where clubs either meet on Tuesdays or Thursdays after school. This year's clubs include Drama Club, Art Club, Makers Club, Hiking Club, and more. There are about 175 students participating in an after-school club, which is great to see the participation in their school community. On Veterans Day, the last Friday, they recognized Veterans Day in addition to learning about history and the importance of Veterans Day. Throughout the school day, students helped put together a wall of honor celebrating a veteran in their life. In addition, the 6th graders had a presentation by a retired submariner who talked about Veterans Day in the morning and later visited science and social studies classes to teach the science of submarines. Veterans Day has become a powerful day of learning for our students and staff. They also held their parent-teacher conferences both tonight, and they are also holding them tomorrow afternoon. So, and then also for Adams, they also held their parent-teacher conferences in the afternoon today, and they were having more tomorrow evening. Many teachers encourage students to write kind of reports to self-report how they did throughout the quarter, to also work with other students to how to build different kind of time management skills, as well as goal setting for the upcoming marking periods this school year. They are hosting a family night at their Adams Book Fair tomorrow night in the library. They have finished up their fall sports season, and all of the athletes did a very nice job. Now they are going to start the winter sports season and are very excited for all those new sports to begin. Lastly, their clubs and extracurricular activities are up in full swing, and most students at Adams are participating in a club, a music ensemble, or anything regarding participation in the school community. At A.W. Cox, they had their parent-teacher conferences last week. At the end of October, they wrapped up their theme of courage and hung up their courage links in the cafeteria, where each child created a link sharing a time that they showed courage. During the month of November, they're talking with the students about gratitude and reaching out to their A.W. Cox community to share pictures of the things that they are grateful for. They are planning to create gratitude walls throughout the building. At Guilford Lakes, for Clara's schools, the playground has opened, and it is a huge success where a lot of students are very excited for this. This past Friday, they organized various Veterans Day celebrations. They had more than 45 veterans speak to them via Zoom and engage with them in different activities to honor them. This past week, they had their Ribbon Week, which was they did Spirit Days each day. And on Friday, they had their ribbon ceremony where various representatives from the high school sports teams and Lakes alumni, DJ John Seville from iHeartRadio, came to talk to them about confidence and the importance of good decisions. The Guilford Grizzly also came, which added a lot of fun to their week. And lastly, the Guilford Fire Department came to talk to the kids of the importance of fire safety and what to do when there's a fire, what it sounds like when a fireman is talking to them, and kind of how to understand what they're saying to them. And then the firemen also got to answer a bunch of questions, and the kids got to ask any questions or concerns. At Melissa Jones, parent-teacher conferences were held on Thursday and Friday, allowing families a chance to learn more about their child's progress in school. Melissa Jones had a wonderful program honoring Veterans Day on Friday, November 11th. Students shared their learning from classes through posters, poems, letters, and also songs. The PTO also hosted a fall festival on Saturday, where students enjoyed games, a DJ, a basket raffle, while enjoying some beautiful fall weather. And then finally, at the high school, we just recently had our homecoming on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. Officer Scott, who was our student resource officer, DJ'd, played very good music this year. And our sports teams our fall sports teams have also wrapped up, where girls soccer, field hockey, and volleyball unfortunately just lost their recent games, but they did proceed in their post-season games. And the girls cross country, they won states, and they also had the success of actually building their own track to run here at Guilford. But everybody has been very successful, and the boys are playing tomorrow, I believe, at Jonathan Law, and I think against Cheshire. But yes, it's all very exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice job. Does anybody have any questions for Ruby? Or wonderful. Thank you. That was a mouthful, and you got it all out.
Congrats on your first quarter being over.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's exciting. Also very sad because it's like 3 more quarters left until I'm done. So it's very emotional.
I imagine at times it goes slowly, and at other times it goes
Yeah.
rather quickly.
Definitely.
And college applications. Huh?
They're all done, and
Awesome.
I'm very
Girl.
happy about that.
Girl, very, very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
It's also nice to hear, I'm trying to remember, and Mr. Brennan, I don't know if you remember, or Ms. Trudeau, when we first started having school on Veterans Day.
I believe it was middle school.
I was
You
gonna
would
say
know,
about
you would
five-
know.
about 5 or
That's
6 years
perfect,
ago.
yeah.
Before
But,
COVID, but just shortly
Yes,
before.
before
Well,
COVID.
but I
Yeah.
remember, I was, last week, in a work meeting, and a number of colleagues had their kids home from school. And I was just noting that we had made a different decision several years ago after veterans groups came to the Board of Ed asking us to hold school instead and make it an educational day.
That's interesting.
And it's just every year we get these great reports
Yeah.
from you and your colleagues about the things that are happening in the schools on that day.
Mhm. And tomorrow, I believe, veterans are visiting the high school. My history teacher just told me today. And so each history class is going to go, I believe they're coming to the library
Mm-hmm.
to listen to their stories and to ask questions as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I remember it happening my freshman year, but COVID has
Yeah,
impacted
right,
us all.
right,
So,
right, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, I
Excellent.
know the kids are encouraged to share, like, from elementary, middle school up, they're like family members who
Mhm.
might have served or veterans, so it's fun. I mean, every year my girl's like, now tell me again, you know.
Right, right, they need an update on, that's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
And again, you are welcome to go or welcome
Yes.
to stay, up to you, but we
Right.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so number 8 is the superintendent's report again. Dr. Freeman could not be with us tonight. I am going to report on agenda 8.1, which is an update on smart funds, and then simply hold on 8.2, which was to update us on the November 8th professional development. We'll let Dr. Freeman fill us in next month on that. The update on the smart funds, and this was communicated to the Guilford Public Schools community via email. These are the grant funds that have allowed Guilford Public Schools to provide free meals within the school to any student since the beginning of this school year. Those funds and the ability to use them will end on November 30th, so at the end of this month. What that means is on December 1st, children who are eligible and have applied for free or reduced lunch will have that in place, and then other students then will need to fund their lunches starting on December 1st. So again, that is a message I'm providing, which is a follow-up to an email that has been sent out to the Guilford Public Schools community, but we do want to make sure that people have that on their radar. I understand from our Director of Dining Services that a number of people have gotten their applications for reduced and free lunch in. Any family who is eligible who has not done that, we really encourage you to do that as soon as possible. Again, because that will start on December 1st. Mrs. Trudeau, do you have anything to add to that? Have I covered that?
No.
All right, thank you so
Covered
much.
everything there.
All right, so we're then going to go right on to the board agenda. 9.1 is to receive for possible action an increase in school lunch prices. We have in front of us a proposal for increasing the school prices. We have not increased prices since the 2016-2017 school year. The recommendation is to increase lunches at a rate of 50 cents, so that the elementary school lunch would be $3.25, the middle school lunch would be $3.50, and the high school lunch would be $4. Our director, again, of dining services provided us with information at the operations committee about this proposed increase, about trying to keep up with food prices. We did get a meal prices comparison for 2022-2023 for other schools in our DIRG, and also information about the current USDA identified amount of $4.33 for lunch and $2.26 for breakfast. The last thing I will note is that there is not a recommendation or request to increase breakfast prices, which would remain at $1.75 for elementary, $2 for middle school, and $2.50 for the high school. So I want to open this up for discussion. Any discussion that we may want to continue. We did have a little bit of a discussion in the operations committee, and then we are being requested to vote on this recommendation. Is there anybody who'd like to say something?
I'll just say, I think one of the things that we're, not really bringing to the table here is that we've clearly not raised prices since 2016. So we really need to think about making this something moving forward that we identify every budget year, whether it's every year or every other year, just considering, you know, where prices are, where reimbursement rates are, where participation rates are, so that it's not, you know, making up for 6 years worth of not raising prices. I think it's important to note that we would be operating at a deficit if we do not raise prices,
Yes.
and we certainly can't be doing that, so we have to be looking at an increase. You know, I just hope moving forward that we as a board can consider this at least on a year or every other year basis, so that it's not such a big jump to the families.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just add to what John said, you know, I appreciate the conversation we had in the operations committee meeting, and everyone kind of shared their perspectives, and thankfully we have a lot of folks that have signed up who have applied for the free and reduced lunch. We've had good participation with that, and just recognizing that we all recognize that economically it's a tough time right now for a lot of families, and so the timing isn't wonderful, but it's also, we do have to make a decision to move, you know, prices. Like John said, we've had the same prices since 16, 17, but that it isn't just done in ignorance of the situation that we're all kind of living in right now with inflation and the costs of things going into the winter and home heating oil and all of that, but that hopefully the families will be able to manage this change.
I will note that because so many districts provided free lunch during the pandemic, we don't have a very recent history in terms of cost to dining services, but prior to the pandemic, it was not at all unusual. It has not been unusual that dining services within schools run at a deficit. So that this is an attempt to minimize losses that might be experienced as we go back into providing meals for a cost for students who aren't at the free or reduced. Are there other thoughts or comments from a colleague? Do people feel ready for a vote? Okay, then I'm going to ask for a motion to increase the meal prices as recommended here. Again, breakfast would remain. It would not be an increase, but the lunch would increase by 50 cents at each level to $3.25 at elementary, $3.50 for middle school, and $4 for the high school. And my understanding, I want to be clear, is because the high school offers a variety of meals and often a variety of options, the $4 is kind of the base meal price.
So moved.
So moved. Okay, thank you.
Second.
Second, excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's everybody. Thank you.
Dr. Balistrisi, when you're putting out, I'm just thinking, I haven't had to like upload money to my kid's account in so long. Are we gonna put out kind of another district-wide, like,
should.
here's what to do now, since it's been so long?
Excellent.
Great.
There we go,
Great.
right?
Yeah.
You were waiting for us, I
Families are gonna
assume.
forget how to use the system.
Yeah, I have.
No, that's a
completely
really good,
forgotten
that's a
that.
very good reminder. Thank you. Absolutely. All right. 9.2 is to act on ratifying the Guilford Administrator's Contract for the 2023-2026. So we had several Board of Ed members and our administrators in negotiations with our Guilford Administrator's Contract this year. This is, we'll be looking and voting on this now. We will follow with ratification of the GEA contract, our teacher's contract following this. And I say that because this has been a different year this year in terms of negotiations. We've seen across the board, across Connecticut, contracts arriving at a higher increase over 3 years than we've seen certainly 3 years ago when we were looking and negotiating these contracts. There's a whole number of reasons for that, which certainly include things like inflation and cost of living, but also the expectations that have been put on administrators and teachers over the last 3 years during the pandemic, which have been really quite extraordinary. So we had, several board members included in this negotiation. The average increase across the state for the 34 administrator contracts that we know of this past year averaged at about 8.7%. They ranged over a 3-year contract. They ranged from 6%, a low of 6%, to a high of 10.51%. These are the conditions of the contract that we have reached in Guilford that we're going to be asked to vote on again tonight. Again, this is the contract with our administrators. So a wage increase over 3 years of 9.25%. That would be 3.25% in the first year, 3% in year 2, and 3% in year 3. Annuity contributions by the Board of Ed. We would maintain in the year 1 the previous level at 2.5%. In year 2, a contribution of 2.75%, and in year 3, a contribution of 3%. The insurance premium contribution would increase, contribution by the employee would increase 1% over 3 years. It is presently at 21% and would remain that for year 1 and year 2, and would increase to 22% in year 3. And then the final attribute of this most recent negotiation is a tuition reimbursement. The opportunity for an administrator to get reimbursed for tuition up to 3 credits for a grad course in any semester with prior superintendent approval. There is a cap, total cap for Board of Ed funds set aside for this, so that would be $10,000 in year 1, $15,000 in year 2, and $18,000 in year 3. This cap is in place in case there are multiple administrators who are choosing, have gotten prior approval and are choosing a graduate course, which may in aggregate exceed the cap, in which case those funds would be evenly distributed up to the cap. And this is really an opportunity for us as a Board of Education to support and keep our really excellent administrators and give them an opportunity for this growth. I was not on this particular negotiation, so I'm going to pause and see if anybody, any of my colleagues who were, has anything to add. And if not, I've kind of covered it.
Who was on it?
Who was? Oh, Dr. Hirsch was on the administrator's contract?
I was as well.
And
Yeah.
Ms. Rader. Okay. The last thing I want to note is because of, I think, parent-teacher conferences tonight, Mr. Hamill, who represents this group, was not able to be with us, but did want me to say the following. The Administrators Association appreciates the positive working relationship we have with the Board of Education and District Administration, and are proud to serve the Guilford community. I'm going to pause one more moment to see, Mr. Bowden, if I've missed anything or you have anything to add about this process.
Just that the rate of reimbursement for tuition would be based on a three credit class, graduate class at the University of Connecticut rate.
Thank you. That was
Yes,
really
that's right,
important.
yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Excellent. So these are the conditions that have been negotiated, the wages, annuity contribution, insurance premium, and the tuition reimbursement. We are asked as a Board of Ed then to ratify the Guilford Administrator's contract for 2023-2026. So I'm going to ask for a motion to ratify the contract.
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's everybody present. Wonderful, thank you. We did have, was it as recently as last month? A meeting with our administrative team, as we do every year, to start talking about the budget. And I will just note, after a really meaningful conversation about not just budget, but the kinds of things that our administrators are wanting to do in their schools and in the district, and the kinds of ways they really want to support students. I express to them my gratitude truly for their amazing work and my ability to represent Guilford Public Schools because of the work they do. So wonderful that we have gotten that done. 9.3 is, as I just noted, to act on the ratification of the GEA contract for the 2023-2026 years. The average 3-year increase for 33 teacher contracts negotiated this year was 12.12%. At the time that Guilford, that we were in negotiations for this contract and landed, the average settlement was at 11.5%. So since that time, the average has increased a little bit. The lowest settlement was 9.47% over 3 years, and the highest was 16.47% over 3 years. So really quite a wide range. I have to say, in my 11 years on the board, I don't think I've ever seen a range like that in settlements across the state. For the settlement for Guilford Public Schools with the GEA, 11.5% over 3 years of the agreement, inclusive of step movement each year. So our teachers have steps, and this is inclusive of step movement every year. In year one, a 3.81%, which includes a new top step at 3% above the prior top step, step movement for all teachers, and after the cost of step movement, the balance of the 3.81% would be applied to the salary schedule. The bottom step, which at this time is step 2, would be dropped. In year 2, a 3.83% total wage increase, including step movement, and year 3, a 3.86% total wage increase, including step movement. So again, this is 11.5 over 3 years. When we settled this, that was in fact the state average. Since that time, the last month plus or so, the average has gone to 12.12%. Other aspects of this, the premium contribution for insurance is an increase of 1% over 3 years of the agreement. We are currently the contract is currently at 20.5%, and that would remain for year 1 of the contract. It will go to 21% in year 2 and 21.5% in year 3. New hires hired before the first day of school will receive the full deductible funding for insurance. New hires hired after will receive a prorated. That's a $1,000 for single coverage and $2,000 for 2-person deductible. And dental insurance, one of the other aspects of this contract, dental insurance will be covered until December 31st of the year the dependent reaches age 26. This puts into alignment dental coverage with other health insurance coverage. Other aspects of this contract, there is a longevity pay in the contract. I'm trying to remember, Mr. Bowden, I feel like we hadn't changed it in 2 decades. So we increased, for 15 to 19 years in Guilford, it increased from $450 to $700. And then for 20-plus years in Guilford, the proposal is to increase from $650 to $1,000. Again, not touched in a very long time. Stipends for various, the many things that our faculty do after school in support of students and involved in students is an increase of 3% in each year of the agreement. This is things like coaching and other things. And then the last thing I'll note that we covered in the negotiations is that beginning in the 24-25 school year, there's an allowance in the contract has been that on evenings, 2 evenings when teachers have to be back in the building for things like teacher conferences, that there is a shortened day. We, in the contract to start in year 2 of the contract, are going to make a 3rd allowance for that for back to school night. All right. I was part of that contract. I know Arnold and Christy were also part of that contract negotiation. I don't know if either of you have anything to add, although again, I did go into the details. No?
You covered it well.
You hit that it went to moderation, or mediation, sorry.
Thank you. That's actually an important aspect. We did, again, we started out contract negotiations. We did reach this settlement through mediation. That is correct. All right, any other questions? So then I am going to ask for a motion to approve and ratify the GA contract for 2023 to 2026. Is there a motion? So moved. Christy, thank you. Arnold, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. All right, wonderful. And I then also want to take the opportunity to thank our teaching faculty for all that they do for our students, for the way that they support them and teach them. We are grateful. All right, 9.4 is a receive-only item. We are receiving drafts of the school calendar for 2023-2024. I will note for my colleagues that there are 4 drafts being presented to us tonight for consideration and for a vote at our next meeting. And the drafts offer these options. 2 of the drafts, draft number 1 and number 2, offer the consideration of starting the first day of school after Labor Day. So that would be on September 5th, 2023. As you can imagine, the last day of school on those calendars is also different than the other 2. So it is a projected end date of June 13th, 2024, although snow days or other reasons for a school cancellation would extend that. The second 2 drafts, draft number 3 and draft number 4, propose a start of the school day prior to Labor Day on Thursday, August 31st, with a anticipated end date of June 11th, 2024, again, unless there are snow days or other reasons for cancellation. So that's the first consideration. The second is that within each groups, draft 1 and 2, after Labor Day start, drafts 3 and 4, before Labor Day start, there is the option of listing holidays and vacations. You'll see in the center. The holidays are named in one draft and not named. They're simply noted as a school holiday in the second. We do note that the holidays serve as an explanation for why school is closed. They do not serve as an expectation of how our students and their families are celebrating or not celebrating those days. And so we're going to be asked to choose either to continue to name the holidays that explain the reason for a closed school day, or simply note them as a school holiday. I don't know if anybody has questions on this now, and Mr. Bowden, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to add in this presentation.
Just a couple of things.
Excellent.
Dr. Freeman wanted the board to know that all 4 calendars align with the Learn calendar, so it's uniform with that. It also includes, all 4 calendars include the 5 professional development days and the 6 early release days, as we've had through the years, so they're consistent, through 1 through 4 in that regard.
Okay. I believe every year we hear from some parents who are interested and supportive of starting before Labor Day, and others who are interested and supportive of starting after Labor Day. Again, this is something that we will be voting on next month, so that any parent who is interested in providing feedback on start dates or other aspects of the school calendar that we'll be considering should feel free to reach out to the board between now and our next Board of Ed meeting.
Dr. Ballas-Tracy, I also neglected to mention that I believe that the 2 versions of our calendars that we're seeing is consistent with how schools along the shoreline have presented their various calendars. So some explicitly name the holiday, others just say school holiday. So
Right.
that's hence the choice.
Right, okay.
I have kind of a completely random question that won't be addressed this year, but in general, I'm not a native of Connecticut, and I know in other states, some school districts build in anticipated snow days. It seems like in Connecticut, we're guaranteed to at least have a couple. Is that not across any districts or towns in the state that you know of, or has that ever been a discussion?
I do know,
Okay.
and I won't remember what year it was.
There was a time.
And if it was only 1 year. Several years ago, we did, at least 1 year, we built in 4 snow days. And it may or may not have come close to the year where we had like 11 snow days. We built in 4, we only had 2 snow days, and ended up having to build in 2 kind of vacation days before the end of the school year. So if I remember correctly, Memorial Day weekend became a 4-day weekend from a 3-day weekend, and I can't remember how we built in the last day. So, and I also, I'm being a terrible reporter here, I can't remember if we only did it for 1 year or more, but I remember it was just a year that we ended up having to give the days back, and it caused a little bit of disruption as well for parents who were
obviously
not expecting their kids to be home on these days, and then all of a sudden we had to create them. So it was not a trend that lasted very long. That's not to say we couldn't reconsider it.
Yeah, I think I'm mostly thinking about the senior families that seem every year to have the juggling guessing game of flights and guests and
Well, we
company.
did, yeah, which is a good point.
Yeah.
That is, I think that has been somewhat resolved by the fact that we did set graduation
Yeah.
last month.
Because the legislation changed, so now we can set it much earlier in the year. We used to not set it till April.
Till April, after April we couldn't, right,
So
after
now
April 1st.
we already did it, in the fall,
Yeah.
whereas like it used
But
to
that,
be
yeah,
2
that's
months
been
before
a,
graduation, we would be setting graduation
Gotcha.
based on snow days. But now we have the allowance to to accommodate for that class time without adding on like 5 snow days, like for seniors at least. I know that we're gonna, even this year, we're gonna be able to do it. Like the end of school will be the end of school, correct? Even if we have like 7 snow days.
The graduation will
right.
be the
rest of the
graduation
kids,
date.
right. Seniors will be done on
The
that
rest
day.
of the student body
Yeah.
will need to fulfill their 180
Right.
days of schooling, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Other? No, that's totally fine. No, that's totally fine. We just, it's a new thing this year, and we just
No, that's
voted
great.
on it last month. Absolutely. Other questions for any of the administration while we have the calendars in front of us for consideration? Obviously, we can ask questions in the meantime as well.
I think you covered it when you said, we want to hear from parents. I mean, this is one of those things that, it can go either way. So, we'd like to hear from people, how they feel about it.
All right. So we certainly encourage parents to reach out and let us know.
When did we start this year before?
We started after.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Again, so that's a receive item, and we will come back to that next month for a vote. Next is the 2023 Board of Ed meeting calendar. This is also a receive item. This is the layout for, proposed layout for when our board meetings will be over the next, well, for the year 2023. Again, any board member who has a question about this or wants to consider what's in front of us, will be voting on that next month as well. Any questions about that before I
think the only thing that I'll add, and it's been said by a few Board of Ed members now, is that it would be nice to see the workshop meetings rotate through schools again.
Yeah, I did, I noticed that. Do you know, Mr. Rowan, is there a reason that is not a consideration on the proposal here, or was it just kind of a repeat of what we've done in the past year? Do you know?
I think it was just a repeat of what we've
Okay.
done most recently, but certainly could be adjusted.
So there's not, my point is, there's not an intentional reason to not consider doing that, right? So that would have our workshop meetings, which are the second Board of Ed meeting every month, which happen on the generally the fourth Monday of the month, and the policy committee meeting or the curriculum instruction assessment meeting that happens prior to that would rotate around the school. So one month we're at Cox, another month we're at Baldwin, another month we're at Melissa Jones, et cetera. All right. Also receive item is a recommendation from the policy committee on the 900 series bylaws of the board. Mrs. Peck, do you have anything you want to tell us about this?
Sure. This is something that we have seen for months. We went over it extensively at a really fun meeting in July, when we took advice from Shipman and Goodwin. We took their recommendations on any changes or updates that we wanted in the bylaws. And the bylaws simply dictate how the board conducts itself, voting, parliamentary procedures, orders of business, public participation. So really, we've all spent a lot of time reviewing this 9,000 series. So I don't know if anyone has any further questions. I mean, I feel like we've seen this a lot. We went over it again in our last policy meeting. So thank you all very much for your time and consideration looking over this for the past 4 months. Any other questions or concerns about this?
We've been over it in part because we were trying to reconcile the differences with new regulations at the state level. So we're trying to come up to conformity with the state rules.
Exactly right. And so I think the changes reflect that. I think there's probably a little bit of language cleanup that we're able to do as well. As a board, I think we have discussed it in some detail, but we will be voting on, it's coming to us as a received item tonight. And then I just ask everyone to make sure that we've gone through it so that we're prepared to vote on it next month. But as Dr. Hirsch was noting, a lot of it is to make sure that everything is up to date. Some of the policies and regulations had not been updated to reflect what is current. All right. And then we do have 9.8, policy 6800, student wellness, nutrition, and physical activity, as a receive for possible action tonight. Would you like, and then I think we'll do this in 2 votes, but 9.9 is the regulation, accompanying regulation to that.
Okay, so 6800 is student wellness, nutrition, and physical activity. So again, we've seen this a bit over the last couple of months. Changes to this policy, again, are to bring us current with Connecticut regulations. I'll just highlight a few of the additions that are suggested in the new policy. One is that foods will be procured locally whenever possible, that foods and beverage served to the students will meet established nutritional standards for the Healthy Food Certification Program, which is again a state requirement. And it covers physical activity and really a health and wellness protocol that we are required to follow by the state. So this is, again, something we've all seen for the last handful of months. I don't know if anyone has any further questions on it. It's relatively straightforward, and I know we've seen it. We've discussed it in our policy committee. We've discussed it at the board meetings. So anyone have anything else to add or questions about it?
Any questions? No. All right, so I will entertain a motion then to approve the updates to policy 6800, student wellness, nutrition, and physical activity.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that's everyone. Thank you. And then, Ms. Peck, you want to tell us about the regulation?
The regulation is really just the implementation of the policy. We can, I think, vote on it almost together.
Okay, excellent. So is there a motion to approve Regulation 6800, Student Wellness, Nutrition, and Physical Activity, as updated? Excellent. Thank you. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. All right. Thank you, Policy Committee. We will be then prepared to receive the remaining policies, the 9,000 series next month. We are now up to reports of committees. Does the Policy Committee have anything additional to report this evening?
Our next meeting is in 2 weeks. And at that meeting, we're going to, I think, further discuss Title IX and non-discrimination. So we expect to have that available for the board at our next full board meeting.
Okay.
And I'm sure we will have other fun policies to discuss in 2 weeks.
Yep, we're preparing that agenda in the next few days. So we'll have a few things to bring forward for discussion.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Operations Committee, anything to add?
I will just add that we did meet with our health insurance representative covering our medical claims to date, and that we will be going out to bid for new carriers and new stop-loss insurance. We hope to see those presented in January. Again, we discussed another strong level of participation in the dining services, so that was very well received. And then facilities, a large update highlighted by the completion of the playground, which is great. The Guilford Lakes Playground.
Yes, excellent. All right, thank you. Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment Committee.
We met several weeks ago to discuss the construction of a pre-K through 12 health and wellness program curriculum, which is now being developed this year, and which we'll have to eventually approve next year. And our next meeting is in January.
Okay, wonderful. Liaisons to town committees. Anybody have anything to report on from town committees? All right. And we do not yet have a liaison to the Warren Board of Directors. We are going to figure out how to address either attending that meeting or otherwise participating. I think we're struggling to find availability.
Can you remind me of the commitment?
It's a once a month on the first Thursday, I'm looking at this.
I think it's the second
Second Thursday
Thursday.
of the month, 9, probably 9 to 11,
9 to
I think.
11,
9
and it
to
takes
11.
place in Old Saybrook.
So if that's something you might be able to consider, let me know. And if not, then we as a board can figure out another approach to making sure we stay involved. Just recognizing that it's a hard meeting to regularly get to.
It is very interesting, though. Like, it's a great opportunity to hear what other districts are doing. You know, they have a superintendent report usually once a session, so that you're hearing from a different superintendent about whatever they want to discuss as a topic. There's a lot about equity and social justice that they discuss across other districts. So I think for me, my experience was really one of feeling like part of a larger community that was trying to accomplish many of the same tasks that we as a board value and are trying to accomplish as well. So it was great. I mean, I do highly recommend participation if anyone's able to do it.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you. Excellent. All right. We are up to number 11, public questions. If anyone in the public wants to approach the board or comment to the board, this would be the time. I would just ask that you give your name and your address, please.
My name is Don Kowalski. I live at 191 Laurelbrook Drive. The proud dad of 3 successful graduates of Guilford High School. I'm here to make a public apology to Dr. Balistraci. Some time ago, I requested a meeting via emails to discuss some educational issues in town. At that time, I had not received a response, and it hurt me a little bit at that time. I recently saw Dr. Balistraci at the Town Green, and along with some passionate discussion of educational differences, I accused her of not responding to emails from the public. I then discovered that I was in fact wrong, that I had received emails. And I'm very sorry for accusing you of not responding to emails at that time. You did respond, and you did offer a meeting to sit with me, and I appreciate that, and I'm very sorry I got lost. I still have no idea where it is. But anyway, I'm here to make a public apology for accusing you of not responding to your emails, and to say I appreciate your time and commitment on the Board of Education.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else? I don't think there's anyone else here in the public. So we come to the end of the meeting. I want to thank all of you who are watching via live stream or TV, and ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.